Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. The rustle of the leaves whispered secrets as I steered my car along the serpentine roads that led to our favorite retreat. Ella and I had made these trips countless times, each escape to nature promising a respite from the cacophony of our city lives. This weekend was supposed to be special. I had planned to surprise her by arriving a day early with a new tent for our collection, a cozy, state-of-the-art shelter that I was sure would enchant her. The sun was dipping low, casting long shadows over the road as I pulled up to the old forest cabin that housed a quaint equipment store. I expected to see Jeremiah, the forester who ran the shop, whose rugged face and hearty laughs were as much a part of this place as the pines and the crisp air. But today, the cabin felt different. The usual warm glow from inside was missing, replaced by a dim eeriness. Pushing the door open, the bell chimed, slicing through the silence. "Jeremiah?" I called out, expecting to see his familiar figure emerge from the back. Instead, a younger man stepped into view, wiping his hands on a cloth. "Jeremiah's not here today," he said, his voice lacking the warmth I had grown accustomed to. "That's odd." "He's never missed a day," I remarked, trying to peer into the back room as if I might find some clue to the forester's unexpected absence. "He took a personal day." "Can I help you with something?" the man asked, his eyes darting slightly, not quite meeting mine. "Yes, actually. I need a new tent. Something special." He nodded, leading me to a corner of the shop where the tents were displayed. "This one just came in. Top of the line. It's perfect for two." The tent was indeed impressive, and as I paid for it, a part of me could barely wait to see Ella's reaction. We had always loved stargazing through the mesh roofs of such tents, lost in our own little world. With the tent secured in my trunk, I drove towards our cabin, the thrill of the surprise fueling my acceleration. The sky was a canvas of oranges and pinks, a beautiful backdrop to what I imagined would be a perfect weekend. But as I approached our cabin, something felt amiss. There were two cars parked outside, mine should have been the only one. My heart began to race, a cold sweat forming at the back of my neck. With the tent forgotten, I approached the cabin quietly, the crunch of my boots on the gravel sounding louder than thunder. Peeking through the window, the sight that greeted me was like a physical blow. Ella, with her hair cascading around her shoulders, sat far too close to Jeremiah. His shirt was undone, revealing a chest that I had never seen, as they laughed at something only they shared. My hand trembled by my side, the world tilting dangerously. I barged through the door, the slam echoing through the cabin as both heads whipped towards me. Ella's face drained of color, her lips parting in shock, no words forthcoming. "John. You're early," she stammered, scrambling to cover herself with a throw pillow. Jeremiah stood up, adjusting his shirt awkwardly. "John, this isn't. Save it." I spat out, the anger and betrayal mingling into a venomous cocktail. "How long, Ella? How long has this been going on?" Her eyes welled up with tears, but I was beyond caring. The cold realization that my wife, my partner, had betrayed me with a man I considered a friend was too much to bear. I can explain," she whispered, her voice trembling. But I didn't want to hear her lies. "Not now, not ever." I turned on my heel and left the cabin, the door slamming shut with a finality that echoed in my heart. My mind raced with plans for retribution. She had ruined our sacred place, our sacred time. And I would make sure she regretted it. As I drove away, the last light of day disappeared, leaving only darkness. I knew one thing for certain, I would never see Ella again after the divorce. And Jeremiah? He would lose more than just a friend. As the relentless rain patters against the windshield, my mind churns with a storm of its own. Driving away from the cabin felt like fleeing the scene of a crime, where my heart was both the victim and the evidence. Now, miles away, in the anonymity of a dimly lit bar in the next town over, I seek solace in the bottom of a whiskey glass. Another one, Buddy, the bartender, a stout man with a graying beard, asks, eyeing me with a mix of concern and curiosity. Just keep them coming, I mutter, my eyes not leaving the glass. The door creaks, and a gust of chilly air announces a new customer. I barely glance up, but then I hear a familiar voice that makes my blood run cold. John. Is that you? It's Mark, an old college friend and, unfortunately, a mutual friend of Jeremiah's. His surprise is evident as he takes the stool beside me. What are you doing here? I thought you'd be out at the cabin this weekend, he probes, ordering a drink for himself. I chuckle bitterly, the sound more like a scoff. Yeah, that was the plan. Until I found my wife with Jeremiah. Mark's expression shifts from curiosity to shock, and then, oddly, to understanding. You caught them together, he asks quietly. I nod, the betrayal fresh as I replay the scene for him. Mark listens, his brow furrowed, his grip tightening around his glass. I knew Jeremiah was no saint, but Ella. I'm sorry, man. Mark's voice is heavy with empathy. If it's any consolation, you're not the only one who's been burned by that guy. What do you mean? I lean in, the intrigue momentarily distracting me from my own heartache. Mark glances around, ensuring no prying ears are nearby, then lowers his voice. Jeremiah's been involved in some shady stuff. Not just cheating. I'm talking about some serious backdoor deals, even some suspect hunting trips that don't exactly abide by laws. My interest peaks as a plan begins to form. Go on, I urge him, the pieces of a darker puzzle coming together. Look, I shouldn't be saying this, but Jeremiah has made a lot of enemies. If you're looking for a way to, even the score, there are people who'd want to help. People who've been waiting for a chance to bring him down. The thought of revenge, served cold to the man who betrayed me, ignites a fire within. Tell me more. Who are these people? Mark hesitates, then sighs, pulling out his phone. I'll introduce you to some folks. But be careful, John. You're playing a dangerous game. As he sends off messages, I ponder the road ahead. My initial desire for personal retribution expands into something larger, more impactful. Bringing Jeremiah down could mean saving others from his deceit. A few moments later, Mark's phone buzzes. There's a meeting tomorrow. Some of Jeremiah's disgruntled business partners and a couple of locals he's screwed over. They're willing to talk to you. I nod, determination setting in. I'll be there. As I leave the bar, the rain has stopped, but the storm inside me rages on. Tomorrow, I meet with allies. Together, we'll plan the fall of the man who took everything from me. The night is dark, but I can see the first hints of dawn. The morning is gray, a fitting backdrop for the murky endeavor I'm about to undertake. I find myself in a nondescript diner off a lesser-known highway, waiting for the allies Mark promised would help me exact revenge on Jeremiah. I scan the faces of every patron, wondering who among them harbors the same deep-seated grudges. Mark slides into the booth across from me, a briefcase in hand, a serious expression etched on his face. They're already here, he whispers, nodding subtly towards a secluded corner where two men and a woman sit, their postures tense, their eyes wary. We make our way over, and introductions are terse. There's Simon, a burly man with a scar tracing down his cheek, Leah, whose sharp eyes miss nothing, and Tom, whose hands are rough and calloused from what I assume is years of hard labor. Simon's voice is gruff as he gets straight to the point. Mark says you're in for some payback against Jeremiah. What's your plan? I want to expose him, everything. His affairs, his illegal activities. I want him ruined, I state, my resolve firm. Leah leans forward, her interest piqued. We have our own scores to settle. Jeremiah's been poaching wildlife. He's been undercutting deals and blackmailing for silence. But we need solid proof. Tom, who had been quietly sipping his coffee, finally speaks. I can get us access to his cabin. He keeps records of everything, arrogant enough to think he's untouchable. Mark opens his briefcase, revealing a slew of gadgets. These are for us. Cameras, recorders, anything we might need to gather evidence discreetly. The next hours are spent in hushed conversation, plotting every step. We decide to split up. Simon and Leah will keep Jeremiah busy at the local bar tonight, ensuring he's out of the cabin. Tom and I will break in, search for the evidence we need. As dusk falls, the plan is set in motion. My heart pounds as Tom and I approach the cabin, the silence of the forest amplifying the gravity of our actions. Using a key Tom had swiped earlier, we slip inside. The cabin is dark, save for the moonlight filtering through the windows. We work quickly, Tom heading to Jeremiah's office while I search the living areas. In a locked drawer, my fingers tremble as I find a stack of documents, contracts, photographs of Jeremiah with influential figures in compromising positions, and a ledger that details every illegal transaction. My breath catches as I realize the extent of Jeremiah's deception. Tom whispers harshly from the doorway. We need to go, now. They're heading back. We barely manage to replace everything just as the sound of a car pulling up sends adrenaline coursing through me. Hiding in the shadows, we watch as Jeremiah and his unsuspecting company enter the cabin. Once they settle in, Tom and I make our escape, the evidence safely captured on the cameras we'd hidden on ourselves. Back at the car, the reality of what we've just done hits me. We have the power to destroy Jeremiah, but at what cost? As we drive back, Mark texts me, a simple message that reads, "Well done. Let's meet tomorrow to review everything." Tonight, I've crossed a line from which there can be no return. I glance at the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the man I was before all this began. But all I see is the road ahead, shrouded in shadows and uncertainty. The early morning air is crisp as I pace outside the diner where we're set to meet Mark, Leah, Simon, and Tom. Today, we unveil Jeremiah's deceit to the world. My phone buzzes, a message from Mark, saying he's inside with everyone. Entering the diner, the atmosphere is tense, each face etched with lines of determination and anxiety. The evidence laid out on the table between us, photos, documents, recordings, all condemning Jeremiah irrevocably. Are we ready to do this? Leah's voice is steady, but her hands betray a slight tremor. Simon nods, his expression grim. Let's bring him down. We finalize our plan to distribute the evidence to local authorities and media outlets. The wheels are set in motion, there's no turning back. Mark and I are to handle the media, while Simon and Leah will go to the police. As we split up, a nagging doubt tugs at my conscience, the weight of our actions heavy. But the betrayal, the lies, they overshadow any hesitation. Hours later, Mark and I watch from across the street as reporters swarm the local sheriff's office where Jeremiah is being questioned. Phones ring, cameras click, it's chaos unleashed by truth. "John, we did it," Mark says, clapping a hand on my shoulder. But the expected relief eludes me, replaced by a hollow victory. As the day turns into evening, my phone lights up with a call from Leah. "John, you need to come to the station. Now." Frowning, I meet Mark's questioning look and head out. At the station, Leah greets us with a face pale and strained. There's been a twist. In the interrogation room, a handcuffed Jeremiah looks up, his eyes not just reflecting defeat but a deep, unnerving satisfaction. "John," he begins, his voice eerily calm, "did you enjoy my little setup?" Confusion mars my thoughts. "What setup?" Jeremiah laughs, a sound chilling in its clarity. "You think you caught me by chance? I knew about Ella and me. I wanted you to find out." "Why?" The question tears from my throat, raw and demanding. "To get you out of the way. Ella and I, we plan to take over your shares in the business, sell off parts to competitors. You catching us, just a step in our plan." The room spins as I turn to Leah and Simon, their faces betraying nothing but shock. Mark, however, avoids my gaze, his silence a thunderous confession. Mark knew, Jeremiah continues. He's been helping me. Betrayal, deeper and more painful than I could imagine, slices through me. Mark, my ally, my friend, another puppet in Jeremiah's game. I stumble back, the faces around me blurring. You used me. All of you. Jeremiah's smirk is the last thing I see before I turn and walk out, the lies and deceit too much to bear. Outside, the cool air does nothing to soothe the burn of betrayal. Days turn into weeks. The media frenzy dies down, but my world remains shattered. Divorce papers, business losses, every part of my life touched by Jeremiah's deception. In a final meeting with Ella, the coldness between us is palpable. I never wanted it to end like this, she says, a hollow echo of regret. There was never an us, not really, I reply, the documents in front of me a testament to our severed ties. As I walk away, the part of me that loved her, that trusted my friends, remains behind, buried under layers of lies. I start anew, far from those who betrayed me, the lessons of trust and vengeance etched deep. The intrigue of deception ends not with retribution, but with the realization that some betrayals are too deep to forgive, and some paths are meant to be walked alone.